Hello heathens, and welcome to my channel. I am Beauty Heathen, and my channel is dedicated to the exploration of paganism through the medium of cosmetics. If you enjoy this subject matter or find my content of interest, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and set the bell to all to be notified of when I upload new videos. In today's episode, we will be discussing the subject of the Theology of Sumeria. Before I get into the content, as always, and in case you are new here, I am using a cosmetic practice head that has been prepared and protected with a layer of hairspray, and then I have applied the LA Girl Pro Coverage HD foundation in the color dark chocolate, and finally applied NYX eye primer in the color white to the eyes. I do this every time, since the first several videos at least, to try to give the cosmetics every chance that I can where they do not react to the same way as they would on normal human skin as they do on these heads. So again, if you are looking for reviews on these products, this is not the place to come to see how they normally perform, because they do not perform normally on these heads as they would on human skin. After all of that, I set the face with the Becca Hydra Mist setting powder, which I got in a BoxyCharm. All the rest of everything has pretty much been bought individually. I will mention if something was in a BoxyCharm or obtained in other ways, as usual. And I'm going to try a look using this Butter London palette, which I did get in a BoxyCharm, and hopefully everything turns out okay. We will soon find out. Sumerian religion. I'm going to start with this dark colored temptress. Was the religion practiced and adhered to by the people of Sumer. Kind of makes sense. The first literate civilization of ancient Mesopotamia. The Sumerians regarded their divinities as responsible for all matters pertaining to the natural and social orders. Before the beginning of kingship in Sumer, the city-states were effectively ruled by theocratic priests and religious officials. Later, this role was supplanted by kings, but priests continued to exert great influence on Sumerian society in early time. In early times, Sumerian temples were simple, one-room structures sometimes built on elevated platforms. Toward the end of Sumerian civilization, these temples developed into ziggurats, tall pyramidal structures with sanctuaries at the tops. And scroll. The Sumerians believed that, I don't want to use that color because that one has purple on it. that the universe had come into being through a series of cosmic births. Next, I'm going to use the color Femme Fatale and just try to blend everything out over the eye. First, Namu, the primeval waters, gave birth to An, A-N, the sky, and Ki, spelled K-I, the earth, who mated together and produced a son named Enlil. So if you're watching this after my somewhat brief video on the god Ninurta, I think I have that right, this is how his father came to be in their belief system. Enlil separated heaven from earth and claimed the earth as his domain. Humans were believed to have been created by Enki, the son of An and Namu. Heaven was reserved exclusively for deities, and upon their deaths, all mortal spirits, regardless of their behavior, while alive, were believed to go to Kur, a cold, dark cavern deep beneath the earth, which was ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal. And again, if I'm butchering these names, forgive me. I am pronouncing them as phonetically as I can. And where the only food was available in the underworld was dry dust. In later times, Ereshkigal was believed to rule alongside her husband, Nergal, the god of death. And I'm going to take a sip of water. Excuse me. It is very, very dry in here tonight. The major deities of the Sumerian pantheon, of course, included An, the god of heavens, Enlil, the god of wind and storms, Enki, the god of water and human culture, Ninhursag, the goddess of fertility and earth, Utu, the god of sun and justice, and his father Nana, the god of the moon. I just realized I did not put down blush or highlighter. I'm really going out of order now. I'm going to put down matte rose blush right here from the Ulta set, and I'll use the rose gold highlighter on above that. Starting with the eyes, and I didn't even put down blush and highlighter. Shame on me. I absolutely love this color blush on the beautiful ebony skin. And forgive me, my placement isn't even on both sides of the face. At the point that you are watching this, I've been recording content and working on this content for about 4 hours at this point, so Night is getting to me a bit. Let's see. Try to clean it off the sides of the face as best as I can. And highlighter, the rose gold one right here. Actually, I probably should have tried the shimmer peach tonight, but I had already dipped the brush in the rose gold. And with all the recording and everything I've been doing, I need to wash brushes again. And heads. And sponges. To all the MUAs and MUEs who when I was first getting into this realm where I had previously misjudged you and thought, oh, why do they buy so many sponges and brushes and all that kind of stuff? I would think that everything's relatively easy to clean and keep clean, and why don't they just wash them more often? I now feel your pain and completely and totally, unequivocally understand why you have so many brushes, sponges, and things now. I didn't before. I freely admit that. I misjudged you. And I am sorry. As I discussed in the video before this, I don't really bother trying to contour the deeper skin tone heads because I really do not have, at least was right immediately next to me, deeper contour colors. And it's not really entirely necessary to try. But, let's see. Highlighter and blush applied. Now to continue with the eyes. That's a dirty brush. Do I have any small ones left? Yes, I do. Funny part in this is I have all these big ones, but not very many little ones that are clean. Because I used them all. There we go. During the Akkadian period, and you know what? I'm just gonna go for, screw it, I'm gonna do Queen. Don't really look at these palettes for how much they have fallout and stuff. I've been going into them pretty rough, so you can't really blame them for it. It's me trying to get as much powder as I can on these brushes so that hopefully the pigment and colors apply better to the eye. I'm doing more on the upper lid area and just brushing a light coating over the green on the bottom. Back to what I was saying. During the Akkadian period and afterwards, Inanna, the goddess of sex, beauty, and warfare, was widely venerated across Sumer and appeared in many myths, including the famous story of her descent into the underworld, which I will likely cover when I actually cover her. This is not that video. Sumerian religion heavily influenced the religious beliefs of later Mesopotamian peoples. Elements of it are retained in the mythologies and religions of the Hurrians, Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, and other Middle Eastern culture groups. Scholars of comparative mythology have noted many parallels between the stories of ancient Sumerians and of those later recorded in the early parts of the Hebrew Bible. So, this is where a lot of the beginnings of Judaism comes into play. And I am no expert on Judaism by any means. My knowledge is by far more with Christianity, so if I misspeak on anything, please forgive me. It's not intentional, but if I'm reading this right, I guess it seems like a lot of the early Hebrew Bible was appropriated from this region and the pagans in it. And Sumerian myths were passed down through the oral tradition until the invention of writing the earliest myth discovered so far, the Epic of Gilgamesh, is Sumerian and is written on a series of fractured clay tablets. Early Sumerian cuneiform was used primarily as a record-keeping tool. It was not until the late early dynastic period that religious writings first became prevalent as temple praise hymns and as a form of incantation called the Namsub. These tablets were also made of stone, clay, or stone, and they used a small pick to make the symbols. Apart from that one, I'm going to bring out the jaded palette, because we're going to put some glitter on here, I do believe. Actually, I might apply another color first. Pardon me, I'm trying to clean the brush a little bit so as not to carry over a lot of pigment from previous uses, and I left my color switches downstairs because I need to clean them. So I'm going to try this and hope for the best. I'm going to put a little bit of ruby on this eye. Until the advent of the Lugals, Sumerian city-states were under a virtually theocratic government controlled by various or Ensi, who served as the high priests of the groups of the city. They call them cults of the city gods, but I don't think that's right. It reminds me more along the lines of how even the deities in Egyptian culture, they had their own set priests. I wouldn't call that a cult. I would just say it was more individualized. I think they even did that in Greco-Roman traditions as well. They all had their own temples. They all had their own priests and worshippers. I'm just putting down the color ruby. Don't ask me why I put down the teal. I don't know. But I'm building up and layering up colors regardless, so it's still there. The female equivalents of the high priests were known as nin. Priests were responsible for continuing the cultural and religious traditions of their city-state and were viewed as mediators between humans and the cosmic and terrestrial forces. The priesthood resided full-time in temple complexes and administered matters of state, including the large irrigation processes necessary for the civilization's survival. And during the third dynasty of Ur, the Sumerian city-state of Lagash was said to have had 62 lamentation priests who were accompanied by 100 vocalists and instrumentalists. So, hello, early organization of churches. Wasn't just in the temples, but here you have hymns and being led by priests who lived within the temple. I think we can all say that sounds familiar. Trying not to push that too far close to me. The Sumerians envisioned the universe as a closed dome surrounded by a primordial saltwater sea. Underneath the terrestrial earth, which formed the base of the dome, existed an underworld and a freshwater ocean called the Apsu. The deity of the dome-shaped firmament was named An. That of the earth was named Ki. First, the underground world was believed to be an extension of the goddess Ki, but later developed into the concept of Ker. The primordial saltwater sea was named Namu, who became known as Tiamat during and after the Sumerian Renaissance. If you've studied Egyptian mythology at all, that name may sound familiar. I'm dipping my finger a bit into the glitter topaz, and I'm going to apply that to the eye a bit. Just scrolling down. The main source of information about the Sumerian creation myth is the prologue to the epic poem Gilgamesh and Enkidu and the Netherworld, which briefly describes the process of creation. Originally, there was only Namu, the primeval sea. And as previously mentioned, the Namu gave birth to An, the sky, and Ki, the earth. An and Ki mated with each other, causing Ki to give birth to Enlil, the god of wind, rain, and storm. Enlil separated An from Ki and carried off the earth as his domain, while An carried off the sky. Their views on the heavens were as follows. The ancient Mesopotamians regarded the sky as a series of domes, usually 3, but sometimes 7, covering the flat earth. Each dome was made of a different kind of precious stone. The lowest dome of heaven was made of jasper and was the home of the stars. The middle dome of heaven was made of sagalmut stone and was the abode of the Ikiki? Ijiji? I can't read that, forgive me. The highest and outermost dome of heaven was made of, oh boy, Luludanitu stone and was personified as An, the god of sky. The celestial bodies were equated with specific deities as well. The planet Venus was believed to be Inanna, the goddess of love, sex, and war. The sun was her brother Utu, the god of justice, and the moon was their father Nana. Ordinary mortals could not go to heaven because it was the abode of the gods alone. Instead, after a person died, his or her soul went to Kur, later known as Urkala, a dark, shadowy underworld located deep below the surface of the earth. So, don't quite know if that's resonating at all, but I know I'm repeating it a little bit, mainly because I know, personally, I tend to be a visual learner with this stuff, so reading it off makes it a little difficult for me to picture it, but I find with a little bit of repetition it comes a little bit easier. After the afterlife consisted the afterlife consisted of the following beliefs. The Sumerian afterlife was a dark, dreary cavern located deep below the ground where inhabitants were believed to continue a shadowy version of life on Earth. This bleak domain was known as Kur and was believed to be ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal. All souls went to the same afterlife, and a person's actions during life had absolutely no effect on how the person would be treated in the world to come. Kind of messed up, but kind of balanced at the same time, I guess you could say. To a degree. Not really. The souls of Kur were believed to eat nothing but dry dust, and family members of the deceased would ritually pour libations into the dead person's grave through a clay pipe, thereby allowing the dead to drink. Nonetheless, funerary evidence indicates that some people believe that the goddess Inanna, Ereshkigal's younger sister, had the power to award her devotees with special favors in the afterlife. During the third dynasty of Ur, it's believed that a person's treatment in afterlife depended on how he or she was buried. Excuse me. So think in the sense of, again, Egyptian mentality, where a person's class, how they were buried, how the body was preserved, and so forth, initiated where they went in the afterlife, how they were treated in the afterlife. It's that kind of mentality. Those who had been given sumptuous burials would be treated well, but those who had been given poor burials would fare poorly. The entrance to Kur was believed to be located in the Zagros Mountains in the far east. It had 7 gates through which a soul needed to pass. The god Neti was the gatekeeper. Ereshkigal's Sukai, or messenger, was the god Namtar. Gala were a class of demons that were believed to reside in the underworld. Their primary purpose appears to have been to drag unfortunate mortals back to Kur. They are frequently referenced in magical texts, and some texts describe them as being 7 in number. Several extant poems describe the Gala dragging the god Dumuzid into the underworld. The later Mesopotamians knew this underworld by its East Semitic name Urkala. Let me think of a lip color. I think I'm going to try this very unique multi-chrome bluish pinkish shade. I haven't dipped into it yet. I don't know how it's going to translate, but we will see. It kind of looks almost like a galaxy to me. Actually, that's quite pretty. It's a very unique color, but I like it. And during the Akkadian period, Ereshkigal's role as the ruler of the underworld was assigned to Nergal, the god of death. The Akkadians attempted to harmonize this dual rulership of the underworld by making Nergal Eshkigal's husband. So, as other cultures took over and other deities came to be created, the lore and the belief systems evolved as well. So, I tried to keep this video on the bit of the shorter side, although it's not as short as some of the others. It's kind of why I tried to keep it moving with the information, but I hope this video imparted some knowledge on ancient Sumerian theology to some degree, and perhaps made yesterday's video on Ninurta make a bit more sense. In the scheme of things, I think I should probably have covered Ninurta after I'm posting the video on Sumerian theology, but as they say, hindsight is 20/20. And anyway, if you enjoyed this video and wish to have more like it, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. Again, don't be shy. I don't bite. This is the look today. And before you go, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. It means so much to me, and I'm so grateful for all of the support I've gotten thus far and the feedback that I have been getting, and I am so grateful to have the support of this community and anyone who is finding my content interesting. So, stay tuned, more will come. And with all of that said, until next time, I wish you brightest blessings, and blessed be.